Hey, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday. I'm so excited to jump on this live in the middle of your day because I've been really wanting to share a message around keeping your commitments to yourself. If you don't know me, my name is Desiree Cocroft and I am your Get Your Life coach. I am a speaker, author, trainer, coach, specializing in leadership and life coaching and also business coaching. And I help women, leaders, entrepreneurs, professionals get their life, unhustle themselves from being in that hamster wheel of doing, and really slowing down so they can really take focus on building their dream life in their personal life, in their career life, in their business life, or whatever that means to them. I currently am the not co-founder. I'm so used to saying that because I co-founded a dance company, but I am the founder and CEO of Get Your Life Academy that I have launched this month. And I'm so excited to be sharing with those ladies this month, helping them get their life, really unhustle themselves from the life that they've been living so that they can pursue their dream life. These are leaders, these are executive directors, people that lead big organizations, and they have other things they desire to do too. And I wanted to hop on here because I think it's really important that all because we have done amazing things in our lives doesn't mean that we don't overthink. It doesn't mean that we are not afraid to make moves in our life just because we have reached what some people might consider a plateau, or if you've been seen as someone that is that go-getter, that entrepreneur, that person that has climbed up the ladder in corporate, or just someone that people see as an achiever, we still have the same fears that other people have. We may have overcome more of those fears, but that doesn't mean they don't still exist, because if you are a human being out here in these streets, you still desire to have more and to be more, because that's just the way life is set up. We always desire to experience more of our lives. We want to experience more of our potential. We want to see ourselves doing what we now envision as our next thing. And that doesn't mean it doesn't come with a whole bunch of headiness, a whole bunch of us getting in our head. And I want to help you today get out of your head, get out of your head of what you think you need or what you think you need to know, and just go ahead and make decisions. So today I'm talking about keeping your commitments to yourself, because I had to, face this thought recently about different things that I said I wanted to do. And I'm like, okay, Desiree, are you going to keep your commitments to yourself, or are you going to change your mind? And I know many of us might be in that valley of decision around different areas of our life. Are you going to keep your commitment to yourself, or do you just need to write it off and stop playing games with yourself? In my mind, I had to really just decide what is really going to be important to me right now. What are things that I have told myself I desire to have at this point that no longer matter to me anymore? And I think it's really important to decide what that is so that you can release yourself of that commitment and it's not filling your mind and filling your thought life, and really focus on, well, what are the commitments that you're going to keep? And so once you decide what those things are, then it's easier for you to see, okay, what can I do to make room for the commitments that I say I want to keep to myself? And I realized that some of the commitments I wanted to keep to myself, I was still being restless about. And I don't know if you find yourself that way too. You made a commitment to yourself. You decided that you were going to go hard in your business, or you wanted to pursue a different role, or you wanted to get better in your health or in your relationships and your finances, and you found yourself avoiding actually taking the steps to do those things. And that's what I'm here to talk about. Once you have decided what are going to be those things that I really truly commit to in this season, once you figure those things out, get rid of those things that don't matter anymore, that have been collecting dust that you're never going to do. But then you all have already decided, okay, this is what I actually want to do. I want you to start considering, if I haven't seen movement in that area, in what ways am I creating avoidance? So we are the creators of our world. Like, we create our experiences every day. And it's so funny. We think that other things are coming to get in our way, but a lot of times it's us that gets in our own way. And so I want you to consider the thing that you said you wanted to commit to. Is it really you getting in your own way when you haven't seen movement in that area. And so a lot of you may have known, or if you don't know, you now know, I'll be moving to Madrid for a few months this year. Yay! And I'm so excited about it. And I've been working on my Spanish because my desire is to become fluent in Spanish. And that's why I wanted to move to a Spanish speaking country for a few months. And so I've been taking Spanish classes. But to be real, between moving, launching my program, and other things, I have put it on the back burner. And like last week, I had to have a real come to Jesus moment with myself. Like, okay, Desiree, are you committed to doing this or not? Like, is this going to be something that you actually do? Or are you going to keep lying to yourself that this is a priority when you're not making it a priority? And so that was the moment where I'm like, okay, Desiree, you can say all day that you're too busy and other things are happening, but I know I'm making up stuff in my head because you know, and I know when there is something that you truly desire to do and you have gotten out of your head about it, there is nothing that can stop you from doing the thing. Like, absolutely nothing. Like, nothing can keep you from doing what you said you desire to do. All right. And so I know that to be true. And I know you know that to be true. And for that reason, it is imperative that we get really aware of what is keeping us from doing the thing. And so for me, I was avoiding it because I'm actually feeling not smart. You know how you start a new thing and you don't feel like you've excelled, you're not in that advanced section, so you're almost like, I don't want to be like a novice anymore. And at the end of the day, everyone starts off as a novice. And so I know I was definitely in my head. If any of you have learned a new language or anything like that, then you already know it can come with, you really making yourself feel like you need to learn everything in one day, or at least that's how I feel. And so perhaps the thing that you have committed to doing, you keep avoiding because you're a novice, you're a beginner, you're clunky. It's a new habit, so you don't know everything yet. And so instead of leaning into that discomfort, you find yourself running away from it or making excuses for it. And so I want to bring that to light today because if you want to move forward in your life, it is going to require you to keep your commitments to yourself. If you won't keep your commitments to yourself, how do you know that you'll be able to see the fullest potential that you could have in that area? Because you keep counting yourself out. You're getting restless. You're not doing what you said you were going to do. And then before you know it, it kind of falls off your list. And then it was that one thing you wanted to do in band camp that you never came back to do. And so today I want to encourage you to keep your commitments to yourself. Keep your commitments to yourself and watch out for these signs. If these things are happening, it is a sign that you're probably afraid of rejection, afraid of feeling uncomfortable. And so you're making excuses, and that's what's keeping you from what you desire to do. And I'm speaking about this from experience as I do a lot of self-awareness around what is keeping me from reaching my goal. I'm really a believer of you can get to your goal a lot faster or accelerate it if you would actually get out of your own way. A lot of times we don't get to our goals because we are resisting something. And so, for instance, my goal is speaking Spanish. I know I've been in this Spanish class, you all, since November. And I can count probably on both of my hands, probably about 10 classes. I've probably been to 10 classes since November, and there are weekly classes, daily classes that I can go to. And I'm always like, oh, I can't find blah, blah, blah. But it's like, Desiree, you just don't like to feel uncomfortable. That's what it is. And so I'm finally admitting to myself, like, Desiree, stop lying to yourself, making yourself feel better for not doing a thing, knowing that it's actually something that you can do. It's within your control. You're just resisting doing it. And when I thought about it longer, I'm resisting it because of discomfort. And so if you find yourself making excuses, and not just any excuses, not like something tragic happened or whatever that kept you from doing something. I mean, these little bitty excuses like time. Time is an excuse. I don't care what you say. I don't care what I say to myself. Real talk. When you desire to do something, you create the time to do it. You will create the time to do it. You will create the time to figure it out. Time will not be an excuse. I don't care what nobody say. Now, if you know your capacity and you're like, hey, this is the time that I have right now, then I would just go on to say, and I think it's okay to say this, it's not that important to you. And that's okay. Some things are just not as important to us anymore in a season. And so when we say we don't have time, what we're really saying is this is not that important to me right now, considering all the things I have going on. And that's not wrong. You don't have to be ashamed or feel bad about something not being important to you. But the fact remains, if something is truly important to you and it's something that you want to get done right now, you will make the time. Ask me how I know, because people have crammed their schedules to make sure they get something done. They have gone to school at night to finish a degree despite all the things happening. People have worked overtime to make sure they have the money they need to do things. We do what we feel like we need to do based on what's important to us. So number one thing, if you're not keeping your commitments to yourself and it is something that you say is important, number one excuse that you know you're running away from being comfortable or being uncomfortable, or you're running away from the fear of rejection or the fear of failure, is you say, I don't have time. Oh, and I know I'm gonna step on some toes because I step on my own toes with this. But if you say you don't have time, it's either not that important to you or you're making excuses. You're afraid of doing the thing. You are afraid of failure. You're afraid of rejection, or you're afraid of feeling uncomfortable. So that is just a sign for you. If you know that's where you are, then that's very likely why you're not keeping your commitment to self. It's not important to you, and it's something that you don't feel like, or you feel like it's something that is making you feel uncomfortable. All right. Another sign that you can tell is if you're being restless. Like literally you created the time, and I know I'm not the only one because I've definitely done this. If you know anything about me, and you might because you're watching this, but if not, I'm a positive intelligence coach. So I work with my clients around overcoming self-sabotaging tendencies. And one of those self-sabotaging tendencies that you possibly may be dealing with is restlessness. And that's one that I know come up for me sometimes. If I get uncomfortable, I'll get restless. I'll just start doing other things. I'm telling you, I will have something blocked, like blocked and ready to go. Like, okay, Desiree, you're going to work on this from this time to this time on this day. I'll tell people, hey, I'm busy. I'm working on this, blah, blah, blah. This is such a sidebar, but if you have ever seen the movie The Shining, I know it's a horror movie. And not a pleasant one either, but it's so funny because, the man was like possessed because he was like straight up having like cabin fever and seeing things. But I feel like restlessness is like you say you're going to do something, but you carve out the time and then you still don't do it. In that movie, he carved out the time to write a book, but he was dealing with other things. That's what I be thinking about when I think about being restless. It's like, yo, like if you're gonna carve out the time to do something, like go do it. And if you're not, then stop tricking yourself into thinking like, oh my goodness, I don't have enough time to finish this. This is so hard, but you really haven't done anything. You carved out the time, but what you've done is allow the time to get eaten up by other things. Like I have carved out the time and then allowed other things to take over that time. And it was really me self-sabotaging myself. So restlessness is a form of self-sabotage when you start just doing a whole bunch of things, chasing shiny gold objects, knowing that those things are not going to yield a real return on investment. The real return on investment is you spending time working on what is most important to you that you actually made time to do, and not pushing it to the side, procrastinating, finding other things to do. You get to the end of the week and you're like, oh my goodness, I had this time to do this. I'm never going to get it done. And then months and months keep passing and you're not getting it done. Again, you need to recognize, is it truly important to you? And if it is, then you get to just get aware that, okay, I don't like the discomfort of doing this. How can I help myself lean into the discomfort? And so ways that you can do that is taking really small actions. And so for me, this is actually even today, like I'm making myself keep my commitment to taking my Spanish classes. I was like, Desiree, I don't care how you feel. You're going to jump in class today. I don't care if you didn't get a chance to study yesterday. You're going to take the time you got right now and you're going to jump in the class. And y'all know what? I did it and it was fine. I had so much fun. I was so glad I went to class or I took the class regardless of how I feel. And it's interesting because of that, I was inspired to take another class later on this morning. And I took that class and I was like, why do I keep doing this to myself? And you know what? We're human. This is what it is. We will trick our minds, or our minds will trick us into feeling like something is super hard and that it's super not attainable. And then once we get into it, it's not that bad. Most of the time, we spend too much time worrying about what it is. And so I want you to consider, how can you take a small step, a small action that's going to help you just really get into it, even if it's 5 minutes. The other thing is, if you found yourself not keeping a commitment, you might be overestimating how much time you need in a day to actually start making traction on that goal. And so that goes back to what I said in terms of, like, if you want to see something move forward, take those small steps. Same thing, if you find yourself not keeping your commitments, it could be really good for you to consider, okay, am I making myself feel like I need 12 hours in one day or I can't get it done? When you break it up, if you take those blocks away and really just create small steps or small time frames in your week to do it, it might feel less of a burden, and you won't avoid it as much. You won't procrastinate on it as much, and just really giving yourself permission, especially as a high achiever. I remember being in elementary school. I don't know if you all remember like math games. But we used to do like speed math games. When I was done with my work, my teacher, I remember I was like in fourth or fifth grade, and he would give us math facts. And I would, even after I was done with all my work, I would try to hurry up and get it done as quickly as possible, because it was just fun to test how quickly I could, say my facts and get it done. And I felt like this intrinsic joy, because it's not like we got a prize for it. I just got this intrinsic joy for getting it done. Like, I got it done fast. And so I think that creeps into my adulthood. If you were anybody like me, which has that kind of like situation, I became someone in adulthood that felt like everything needs to happen fast. I can make stuff happen fast. Like, I'm smart. I know how to make things happen. I can do it quickly. And so if I wasn't able to do it quickly, I felt like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. This is going to take so long. And so what I've learned is, like, you know what, Desiree, give yourself more time to just get it done, in the sense of, not that I have to wait a year to get something done, but space it out in a way that doesn't feel like it's taken forever just because I couldn't get it done all in one day. It's fine. Just keep your commitment to yourself. And the other thing is, sometimes we want, once another sign that you may be running from a commitment to yourself is if you are looking for the finished product to be done in one sitting, similar to what I just talked about just now. Like, breaking it up is helpful, but sometimes even if you break it up, you can get to every time that you're working on it with this feeling of defeat because it's not near being finished. But you know what? You're going to be further away from it being finished by not doing anything at all. So your best bet is to actually sit yourself down and start making some traction on what you actually desire to do. And the thing is, when we keep our commitment to ourselves, it builds confidence, it builds trust. So I have a book called Get Your Life Today, 7 Success Hacks for Life, Leadership, and Business. And one of the first hacks that I talk about is confidence comes when you decide. And so I talk about this a lot because confidence comes when you make decisions. When you make decisions like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I don't care what else is going on. I'm going to make that happen. That builds confidence. And when you keep your commitments to yourself, that builds confidence. You trust yourself. You trust yourself to make decisions, but not only do you trust yourself to make decisions, you trust yourself to follow through. A lot of times you might be struggling to do the big thing, the next big idea, because your past self has fallen through. You haven't gotten things done before, and your mind is just replaying your past experiences, your past self. And you get to decide that I'm going to step into this a new person, and I'm going to step into this new season as the person that keeps her commitments to herself. And when I keep my commitments to myself, I build confidence. Confidence comes from the Latin word confidere, which means full of trust. I fully trust in me. I fully trust in my decision making, and I fully trust that I'm going to be everything that God has called me to be because I am taking action. It's like faith without works is dead. If you are not taking action with all of this belief, it doesn't matter. Nothing is just going to happen just because you sit and believe. You actually have to take inspired action, and that inspired action is the commitment that you need to take. And we all have those commitments to ourselves that we have buried because of fear, because of the thought or the illusion that we don't have the time or the resources to do it. Another hack in my book is you have everything you need. Literally, you have everything you need to keep your commitment to yourself, because sometimes Another thing that is like a red flag that you're avoiding your commitment is this thought that I don't have the resources. So we talked about time, but sometimes when we don't think we have the resources, we actually don't think we have what we need in our hands. That keeps us from keeping our commitment to. And I am in the belief that you have everything you need. We live in a world where you can be connected with people all across the globe that may have access to what you need, whether that is the network or the information that you need. There's so much free information, so not even money can be a barrier. If you have the internet or access to the internet or a library or somewhere where you can get internet, a friend's house, your phone, you can get access to free information to teach you how to do things. So there is almost no excuse to not have what you need because you have access. The only thing that you have to do is actually take action to go get it because it's there, it's already available to us. And so living in the belief that you have everything that you need is really helpful to helping you stay committed to your commitment. If you are feeling like I can't stay committed to this because I don't have everything I need. Yes, you do. You either know somebody that got it or you can find the information to get it. And then you just need to pick up the phone, send the email, write the proposal or whatever. You got all this AI that can help you write a proposal. Whatever it is that you can do, we have everything that we need to create it. So if you desire to move forward, really live that dream life that you desire to live, really be someone that feels confident and trusting your own words and your own actions, then I would implore you to practice. And practice is a key word, to practice keeping your commitment to yourself. Even if it's in the small daily things. Like I said, small daily, like I'm working on Spanish and it was so funny. I had to give myself a pep talk this morning because I didn't feel like going to Spanish class. You feel wonky when you don't know something or you're learning something for the first time. And I'm like, I don't like this feeling. And I'm like, Desiree, you have to keep your commitments to yourself. If you don't keep this commitment to yourself, what other things are you going to let slip through the crack? And then even furthermore, what things have you allowed to slip through the crack because you can't trust yourself to just even do the small thing? And so I was like, ooh, Desiree, you're being so hard on yourself today. But not hard on myself. Like, I'm not ashamed of myself. It's just a reality. And I think that we get to be self-aware of what we are bringing to the table and stop making up these stories in our head that everything is doom and gloom and that we don't know how to do a thing and something is so far out of reach. It's not out of reach. Everything that we need is surrounded by us. Like, we live in a place of abundance where we have access to so many different things. So you can do it. It's getting out of your head, getting out of the overthinking so that you can actually achieve what it is that you've been desiring to achieve. I actually just did a video yesterday. I think I'll post it on LinkedIn today, but I did a video yesterday about 5 ways to overcome overthinking. And a lot of it has to do with helping your nervous system get back to neutral. And so like even today when I was like overthinking, like, oh, should I go to class? Should I cancel it? Do I really feel like doing it? Like all the things. It's like I had to get back to neutral. So I took some time to breathe. I took some time to be still. Like, Desiree, what's the deal? Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Like, and I was like, you know what? Go to class. So one of the things that I talked about out of the 5 was take action. One of the quickest ways to get out of this self-doubt loop that we can find ourselves in when we're looking to keep commitments to ourselves is to take action. Action is the best way to get ourselves out of that self-doubt loop, because if we allow our brains to go, it's going to just talk us into the ground of why we shouldn't do a thing and all the things. But if we take action with certainty, we can go ahead and stop that self-doubt loop and realize that all it was noise. So one of the best things that you can do is just start taking action to stop that self-doubt, to stop that overthinking, to stop that anxiousness that might be surrounding the commitment you desire to make for your life. The other thing is to move your body. Move your body. A lot of times we're like this, we're sitting down, but after I'm done with this, I'm getting up and I'm going outside, even though it's freezing, because it's important to get out in nature, to move your body. I worked out this morning. Get your body moving, because that helps you reconnect to your body and find out how you're feeling, how things are going. And it allows you to be able to think clearly, because now you focus on treating your body well. Another thing that you can do is, and some people might not like this, but I think it's actually very helpful and because I'm a crier. It's helpful. Sometimes you just need a good cry. I don't know if this resonates with you, but I've experienced grief already earlier this year. I have experienced, overcoming things in my own body. And I think that sometimes you just need a good cry. You can do it alone. Nobody has to see you do it. You can do it in the car, kind of like Friday, like he said, he gonna cry in the car when Debo stole his chain. It's like sometimes you need to go cry in the car. And that's okay. You deal with it and you actually feel good after it's happened. The other thing you can do is journal. I think journaling is so powerful. I got back into journaling early last year. I actually have ups and downs with journaling because sometimes I'm really consistent in it. Other times I'm not as much, but I've been pretty consistent as of recently. And journaling is very helpful to get things out of your head and really start to get your thoughts together, because we can live in our mind so much, and if our mind hasn't been helping us, it can help us create new thoughts by using journaling as a tool to create new thoughts, new neural pathways that we can create the movement of our body, writing the thoughts that we like to have, and just make it be more cemented for ourselves. And also, being able to not only just journal, meditate, pray, but talking things out to people also helps, especially when we're rewiring our minds. Saying things out loud really can help us keep our commitments to ourselves, because we can be journaling, praying, meditating, talking with other people around the values, the principles that will reinforce the commitments we desire to make. And that will help us do it even easier. And then sometimes when we're talking to people, and I mean like minded people, or someone that is a mentor, coach type person, that can help you think outside of the box. And I love when I do that. I have, a Rolodex of people that I'll call when I need that kind of feedback, because it'll help me pull myself out of the ground. And I'm like, you know what? This is easier than I thought. Let me go do this, right? So talking to people can be really helpful as well. And then the last thing I would say is reading, music, whatever the case is. Our mind creates our feelings, and our feelings create our actions. And a lot of what we do on a normal basis is in our body. I talk about this book a lot, but it's a book that's called The Body Keeps Score. And in The Body Keeps Score, it talks about how a lot of our feelings, the things that we've experienced, are housed in our body somewhere. And so that is very similar to us doing life regularly and not thinking. Like sometimes you automatically go to bed. Get out of the bed in the morning, brush your teeth, like you're on automatic, right? And so we think our mind is running us, but our body is on automatic, because we have created habits and routines that have been automatic. Sometimes you'll go to grab a coffee, you don't even think about it, right? This is just what you do because you're in automatic. And habits help our brain not have to be on overdrive, because it's easier for our brain to make shortcuts and just do what it needs to do to keep the day going. And so when we start interrupting those shortcuts, that's when we start feeling like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And all the things. But we get to normalize the new habits that we're creating. And so I think it's really important that when you're creating new habits, when you're keeping new commitments to yourself, that you listen to, read things that are going to continue to help you cement those new beliefs, those new habits, those new thoughts, those new values, those new principles. And so figure out what podcasts might be helpful to you. Think about what books that might be helpful to you during the season, because that can also help you keep your commitments. So I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, feel free to like, share, comment. Let me know what else you would want me to talk about. It is my desire that you fulfill your fullest potential, live life on your terms, unhustle yourself so that you can live your dream life, because who doesn't want to do that? Until the next